Today on What Went Wrong, we talk about why you need to stop giving a shit about doing things the right way. Hi, I'm Brett Mauser, and I've made over 40 feature films. I have an education in film and a large background in film, and I know the right way you're supposed to do things. But when you have no money to make a film, you can't do it the right way.
No.
Not even all the time,
No.
just never.
Never.
Now I teach at a college level of a class of several different film classes from writing to the fundamentals. And when in the fundamentals classes, I will always say, I'm going to teach you the right way. I'm going to teach you the way you're supposed to do it. We're all independent filmmakers. We're all rebels. We're all artists, and we want to break the rules. But what do you have to do before you break the rules?
You got to know the rules.
You got to know the rules. So I'm going to tell them, I'm going to teach you the rules. I'm going to teach you the way you're supposed to do this, the way you're supposed to make films. But I'm also going to show you the way you have to think outside the box. And you have to think of ways to accomplish the things that you can't accomplish without the money. And
Right.
the right way to do things requires a lot of money.
Right.
Now, I'd also taught a seminar about what I called inside the box. And that's thinking inside the box, being, look, this, what you're looking at right now is a square box. Concentrate on what is forever. And it's that film that's rolling through the camera, or the digital pixels that are being recorded on your card.
Right.
That's what's forever. Forget about everything outside of that screen, everything outside of that border. And that being that, if you're supposed to be in Arizona, and there's a palm tree over here, or there's an evergreen tree over here, don't get the evergreen in the shot. It doesn't exist in your universe, which is
Right.
inside that box.
Right.
So that's the first step in being able to.
Sorry, my seat's out of control here.
That's the first step in being able to think outside the box, is to think inside the box. And that's forgetting about the lobster dinners and the steaks and everything that that a Hollywood film can afford, because they've got
Right.
deep pockets. You've got to understand that lobster dinner is not forever. That's not going to live on film. That's outside. You got to concentrate on what's inside that
Right.
box.
Yeah.
Now, the right way to do things is going to take money. You have to get your film bonded. You have to get insurance. You have to do this. You have to do that. You want to hire the DP, the continuity director, the this, the that, and you can't do that when you have no money.
Right.
So what does that mean? That means that you're going to have to cut corners. You're going to have to solve your problems creatively rather than throwing a bunch of money at it.
Right.
How do you do that? You have to, again, fall with the inside the box philosophy of, I just need what's on screen. Just get what's on screen. One of the things that I remember most about directing on somebody else's film, I was working with an actor on his film, and he had a DP, a director of photography, somebody who ran the camera. And one day, it was like the first day on set, I told he was having some lighting issues, or it's too bright, and I said, well, just put your ND filter on, which is basically sunglasses for your camera. And he said, well, the book doesn't say to do that. The book says it does this and that. In later years, I become more of an asshole. Back then, I was still trying to be very nice and very polite, and this was one of the first times that I really let my inner asshole shine. The next day, I came to set, and I asked my actor Matt, whose film it was. I said, I need to speak to your DP. He said, okay. He had to sit down with him, and I sat down on one side of the table, and he sat down on the other, and I whipped out my resume, and it was 5 pages long, of music videos, commercials, independent film, and it's not just the cheap films that I do, but commercials and
The
government projects that I've been hired to
Yeah.
do. And
You've
been
done a
able to
lot of
survive.
corporate stuff. You've also done all those music videos for those guys up north.
Exactly.
I mean, the film stuff itself is one thing, but that's not all there is.
Right. Turn around and I slide it over to him. And I said, I said something else, but basically I said, don't ever tell me what the book says
Right.
to do. He left
Yeah.
the set the next day.
As we figured he would.
Yeah, because you can't put yourself. I hate using the word box over and over again, but you can't put yourself in that box and say this is the way you're going to do this. This is the way it has to be done because
Right.
it can't. Now, are you going to is your film going to suffer through some quality? Yes, yeah, but when you like I said before, when you have no money to make a movie, understand you're not going to make a movie and understand any money on this and understand why you're doing this, to learn, to get films under your belt, to be able to get that dime in the rough scene that you shoot that is just perfect. Maybe your other film, maybe other scenes aren't, but you have that one great scene to be able to show somebody, to say, look, this is what I can do. This is a great scene. Help me make, give me some money so
I want to make a
this.
bunch of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to get outside that. And the problem with a lot of filmmakers that I've seen, especially, the independent filmmakers, the ones that have no money,
Right.
is they're trying to be Hollywood film. And you can't. You have to understand where you're at.
Right.
There are some filmmakers in town that have made good movies with with not a lot of money, but they get burnt out so fast. I think the highest number of films that I've seen other independent filmmakers make is, I think, 10.
Mm.
By then they're done. They're just exhausted. Because they're putting too much effort into the lobster dinners and making everybody on set happy and making sure that everything's air conditioned here and there and there's not, and making sure that this lighting is perfect and everything like that. And I'll guarantee you the same number of people watch their film as people who have watched mine.
Right.
And they hit the same audience, and I'm sure that they kissed their ass just like everybody else kissed mine to start with, until you start going on the blogs and the comment sections and you start seeing, and they have the same they're getting slammed just as much as we are
Right.
in ours.
Right.
So doing the way you're supposed to and doing it quote unquote the right way is not the way to do it when you have no money,
Right.
because you can't.
Right.
It's impossible. And it comes down to, no matter how much planning and how much you're expecting to do, it's never going to happen that way.
Yeah.
Military is a prime example.
We were talking about how one of the great things you'll always hear guys talk about is no battle plan survives first contact. You can have this very intricate. The Japanese Navy used to have these very intricate plans for Midway. Oh, we're going to go here, and then they're going to do this, and we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, and then this guy's going to go over here, and it's this very big intricate plans, and it all depends on the enemy being exactly where you want them to be, where you expect them to be, and what's going to go on. And when it's not, totally screws up your world. And you, as a filmmaker, got to be, light on your feet. You got to be like the little boxer. Oh, coming from over here, bang, nope. How do you deal with this? Bang, do this. Speaking about military, we like to keep things simple. All of our plans, everything we do on the most basic level is very simple. Attack from the front, feint left, attack right. Feint to the front, attack, and go. I mean, it's very simple things, but it works because we understand. And same things with what I do now. We understand that everything may not be where I think it's going to be, and this may not go the way it's supposed to go. That's why we plan. That's why we train. That's why we understand that. Yes, we're supposed to do A, B, and C, and D by the book that says do A this way, and B this way, and C this way. But it's just not going to work out that way. So how do you make it work? Well, you plan to do A this way and B this way. But you realize That's not how it's going to go. So then you've got sub plan B, and you have backups to that, and you have a fallback in case this backup doesn't. You have to plan for these things, because how many times have we gotten to a set and the set's not right, or the lighting isn't right, or the weather's been bad, or the weather is bad, or the actor didn't show up, or any number of things that's gone wrong. What do you do? What are you going to do? You know, it's like the whole leadership training. Okay, this person, that person, what are you going to do? Hey, leader, what are you going to do? Well, you're the leader. What are you going to do? So you need to make sure that you understand this is how it's supposed to go, and this is the right way. And none of it's ever going to happen the way you think it is. So if you're planning for everything to go the way you think it's going to go, good luck.
Yeah. And the Innocent Saga is a prime example.
Oh
of
my
that.
God.
From and not just on a micro level, but on a macro level, where you look at the saga as a whole. There are actors who played certain characters that some of those characters are supposed to be all the way through, and you get so irritated with some of them, and some of them make it impossible to work with.
Yeah.
So you then have to make some rewrites,
Right.
or they just drop out, and you're like, well, I've got to have this person fill the shoes of this character. I got to change this character into that character so that can go, and now you've started this domino effect that affects chapter 7 because of something you've done in chapter 3.
Right.
The way the Innocent Saga turned out is nothing the way it was supposed to be.
Right.
Well, I mean, I say that to an extent. I mean, they're still.
I mean, it still ended the way you.
It still ended the way it was supposed to.
to.
But there were so many things and inconsistencies throughout. But then at the same time, there are other people that you didn't even expect to be as good as they were,
Right.
and they were stars, and you were like, "Oh, I've got to make this, expand this." Jax is a great example.
Oh my
he
God,
was he
Jax.
was supposed to be in chapter 1.
I don't want to do this.
I do.
And that was it. And
He was the most dynamic character I'd ever seen.
oh yeah, and he wound up making it all the way through because he was so captivating, and he had this roller coaster of how he went.
You are order, Mike. Me, I am chaos.
You know, I will talk about Jade Esteban Estrada. I will talk about that character. We could do one of these things just on the stuff I know. I love about him. But yeah, that character was dynamic. It would have been a shame to lose him.
And eventually, when the universe ends, and it will,
Even though the character of Jax, changed from what he originally was to what he then became, I still couldn't take my eyes off of him because that actor was so good. And so you have those times where I'm supposed to have him just right here, and then that's it. And then you're like, oh man,
Yeah,
I gotta have him back. But now we got to figure out something. Yeah,
yeah. He could have played every single character in the
Probably.
Innocent Saga. And we just green screen him, and
Green screen him everywhere.
We know he'd wear a dress, so he'd play the women.
Shoot.
But
Get with it, girl.
yeah. So those things kind of change as well. So you play to your strengths.
Yeah.
And when you're making your film and you start realizing where your strengths are, start playing to them. And when you identify your weaknesses, start pulling back from them and start going, okay, I need to pull this away a little bit. There are times where just one person, not making it to set one day, branches off into a whole nother direction.
Right.
And there are sometimes that Santiago is as Boss Montoya,
Oh, man.
incredibly consistent throughout the entire film, completely believable. I love that character.
Right.
Santiago does a terrific job through that. DeMarcus, incredible as Ruby. Put them side by side. Their chemistry is undeniable.
Oh, it was undeniable. Yeah.
But DeMarcus, was not living in Texas at the time. And it was just getting too difficult for both of us to be able to bring him down, as much as we needed, as much as
Right.
he was originally planned.
Right.
So, unfortunately, we had to write him out, not of the whole saga, but give him some time, so that we weren't bringing him down once or twice a month.
You're asking me to go up against the beta hunters? Now I know it's time for me to get out of this now, while I still can.
So I had to find other ways to address that issue, bring in other characters to play the things that he was going to. And then there was a time Santiago was just sick as a dog, just could not make it to set one day.
God love him.
Which, yeah, and that's why, you'll get that. You'll get actors saying, "Oh, I can't make it." But knowing Santiago, when you get a call from Santiago and he says, "Dude, I am just really sick. I can try," because
Yeah, no, I mean,
look, I
he
will
was one
try
of
to
those
make
guys.
it. But
And
when
you're
he
kind of like,
says-
did you already call the priest for last rites?
And
You
that's
really-
the what you're like. This guy must be on his deathbed.
He must be dying.
And he's still saying, "Look, if you really, really, really
can be
need me,
there."
I can be there." And with guys like Santiago, he's not bull
Yeah.
just because of your past experience
Right.
with him. But when you're on that scheduled timeline, you have to make a judgment call, and that was in chapter 6, where we had everything set up, everything scheduled, and he was supposed to go to Tara to show her the coin and explain to her, hey, Mike might still be alive, and
Right.
we've got a chance here. And she's drunk, and they have a big fight. Oh, it would have been great to have seen Santiago in that.
Right.
But, especially when we were in chapter 6, we were halfway through, a little bit over halfway through, and we were all burnt out.
Yeah.
Brad was done at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
he needed a month off, and,
Yeah.
and fortunately he got that. But and Jake stepped in to really kind of pick up where Brad had left off in the producing aspects of it. So Brad was just sort of acting at that point. Well, because it was sort of a last minute thing, we had to have somebody step in. So Jake wound up stepping in. We created a character called Owen for Jake to play in that, but we also knew that he was going to be doing this other role. So I was like, well, how are we going to do that? Well, let's just make Owen actually be Jake and Jake's character. So that character filled in for Montoya when we couldn't play, we couldn't make that scene work with Montoya.
Right.
And do I miss Montoya in that scene? Yes, absolutely. Did I make it work? Yes. Is it terrific? No. But it sufficed. It got us there. But it was a sacrifice that we had to make based on time, based on money, based on getting the project done.
Yeah.
And those are the sacrifices and compromises that you have to make. Was it the right way to do it? No. And it would have been easy to say, okay, we'll wait a week, we'll get it done. But now here's where it gets complicated. You have that one little hiccup.
Right.
Okay. Completely understandable, and the criticism of making that decision is completely valid. However, now consider the fact that you're making 10 films in 1 year.
Yeah.
And all those other little things that pop up, all those times when an actress calls in and says she has a concert to go to instead, even though you've got people flying in from Seattle that weekend.
Right.
And now look at, oh crap, we definitely miscast this role. Oh, he's got, now in every week, and we basically shot Innocent Saga on weekends.
Yeah, basically.
Now, consider the fact that on every single weekend, except maybe one or two through that entire year, shit like that happened.
Yeah.
On every weekend. And decisions had to be made like that.
Yeah.
Now, considering that, how long would it have taken to shoot the saga?
Yeah.
Could the saga have been made? Absolutely
I doubt it.
not.
I don't see how.
Absolutely not. So now you are now left with, do you make the saga and make those compromises and have to do it the wrong way, but get it done and make the film and try and fix things in post to make, do reshoots, explain things later down the road, or do you never make it at all?
That's a decision you have to make because it has to be made. You can't have it the way you want it.
Yeah, because if we'd have done it the right way, it would have never gotten done.
You'd still be making them.
So we are. But yeah, I mean, if we'd have been still working through 10 years, the last 10 years, we would still be making that. And you're not going to get those actors. I mean,
We'd be changing. We'd have to hand out a playbook before everything to say, okay, the characters are now being played by this person. This person's now this person. Because you're not going to keep those guys.
Yeah. I mean, look at where everybody is now. Everybody's scattered to the wind.
Yeah.
10 years later, we're going back and we're putting another timeline in, and we're explaining a lot more, and we're trying. I don't want to say we're trying to fix it. We're just adding to it and making it.
You are making
more
it,
of what it.
making
what
it more of what it should have been.
Yeah. Because some of those things that we didn't get to do, I'm getting to do them now.
Yeah. Technology has changed. Concept have changed.
The CGI is much better. I'm being able to do a lot of things in the original cut that I just showed you today. It was originally in Chapter 6 where Donovan gets killed. He was always, and when people watch the new cut, there's a scene when Donovan gets killed. Where you were like, whoa!
Yeah.
He gets stabbed. He gets kicked out the window, and now even getting kicked out the window is even cool because you get to see
you
Donovan
see-
falling out the window rather than kind of.
Yeah.
And in the original cut, we see Donovan splat. He falls down and he dies dead, and that was it. And it was a lot due to the limitations of the editing. I just didn't have the capability of doing it because it was originally shot to do that.
Yeah.
And you know that because there's footage you've never seen. Now.
Right.
Because now there's the shot of Hank looking out going,
Was that?
and people who are familiar with the saga the first time around are going to watch that and go, wait.
Yeah. What?
But that was the way it was originally designed to do.
Right.
But there was just so many things that we couldn't because of the special effects. We were planning on doing a lot more, but it just didn't work out that way.
Right.
How immortal is immortal?
So they were planned, but I couldn't do it the right way. I had to stitch it together. Now, 10 years later, I'm able to go back and tell the story. And I'm not getting to do everything that I wanted to do, but I am going back, and there's
More
extra
of what you
footage in there. Little things like Jax in episode 1 throwing that lamp out the window when he's pissed.
Yeah.
Didn't get to do that in the first one. Now I have the graphics ability to be able to do it. Maybe not as good as Hollywood,
Right.
but convincingly enough that you're like, oh yeah, and it adds to that character a little bit. It adds to the scene, and it allows Jake to have that great one line as he's looking down, and there's this moment of pause. And he goes,
That's a whole lot of unhappy people down there.
it's just a great little character moment.
Right.
And it allowed us to do that. And so I think that a lot of the actors are going to appreciate, those moments. But it, again, comes down to, do you want to do it the right way, or do you want to get it done?
Right.
End of story. That's all there is to it.
And at the end of the day, it's just a question you, the filmmaker, have to answer. I mean, do you want to do it the right way, or do you want to do it? Because if you want to do it the right way, go find something else, man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, these are. Let me try that again in English. These are the decisions you have to make.
We've just answered one of the biggest questions, here. What went wrong? Nothing went right.
Nothing went right.